All right, juniors, I'm going to initially let me move this wire. Sorry. Initially, I had said we were going to cover the last three Walt Whitman poems in our book. And as I studied them, I really don't like two of them and don't want to teach them. So here's what we're going to do instead. I'm going to cover the one I like, that I really like, I Hear America Singing, which is found on page 435. And we're going to talk about a poem that was inspired by that. It was actually written in more modern times by an amazing poet called Langston Hughes. So we're going to just do that instead. Instead of me trying to stumble through a bunch of poems I don't care about and that I don't really like, let's do something that's more interesting, okay? So first off, let's start on 435 and cover this initial poem called I Hear America Singing. Arguably the most famous poem by Whitman. I mean, there's several contenders, but definitely on the list. I mean, it's in the top few. So pretty simple, and it's really easy to get into this and completely think there's nothing to it, but I promise you there's stuff there. All right, so I hear America singing, the varied carols I hear, those of mechanics, each one singing a hymn as it should be blithe and strong. The carpenter singing his as he measures his plank or beam, the mason singing his as he makes ready for work or leaves off work, the boatman singing what belongs to him and his boat, the deckhand singing on the steamboat deck, the shoemaker singing as he sits on his bench, the hatter singing as he stands, the woodcutter's song, the plowboy's on his way in the morning or at noon intermission or at sundown, the delicious singing of the mother or of the young wife at work or of the girl sewing or washing, each singing what belongs to him or her and to none else. The day that belongs to the day, at night the party of young fellows, robust, friendly, singing with open mouths their strong, melodious songs. All right, so right away it's easy to look at this and be like, oh, what, Mr. Morris? He's talking about all these different people singing. Exactly. All right, that's one of the things with understanding poems is first of all looking at literally what's there, and then so what? It should be the next question out of your mouth. So what do we have here? We have a collection of people singing. So what? All right, well, first of all, let's try to figure out who's singing. Mechanics, carpenters, masons, boatmen, deckhand, shoemaker, woodcutter, a hatter, which in this one, a hatter is a person who makes, sells, or cleans hats. Why your book needed to define that, I'll never know. Then we get even a woodcutter, plowboy. Then we even get things like mother or a young wife or a girl sewing or washing. And yes, I realize that that's very sexist to establish those chores to women, but in this time period, it's kind of fitting for what was going on. We have people who are actually doing things. They're working. They're the people who build America. Notice he says America. He hears America singing. That title is key. If a poem has a title and it's not just the first line or it's not a sonnet 12 or something, you always want to pay attention to that title. So he says, I hear America singing. Well, I don't see anything specifically about America at all in the poem, do you? Except all of these people and what they're doing or what build America. He's picking all these people who have had a lot to do. You notice what's not on here? I hear the oil magnate singing. I hear the politicians singing. You didn't have any of that. These are all the workers, people who got out there and did stuff and helped build the country. We're really easy to look at people like Rockefeller or the Standard Oil guy whose name is slipping my brain right now, or any of these other magnates of industry that we would talk about a lot in history class as being the ones who America was, who built America, but they really funded the building of these guys are the ones that built it. Okay, and I'm not saying these rich guys weren't important. Obviously, they are. But people remember them forever. Historically, there's their reward. But all of these guys, no one really knows them by name. You don't know the carpenter so and so that lived in this particular city, but they're so much more important in so many ways, even today. So Whitman here is kind of summing up that to him, America are all these people that are doing, their jobs. Notice this line. This is a cool line. It's line 9. Each singing what belongs to him or her and to none else. Notice they're doing their part. They're doing their job, what they're supposed to do. And if everyone gets up and does that very thing, and doesn't worry about everyone else, then it's amazing what our country can do. And remember, this is like the heyday of America in many ways. Yes, I realize that, once we come, the 1950s and 60s kind of are seen as like, maybe our peak time financially, I guess some people might think. But you think about how much America grew in the 1800s and all the things that changed. I mean, how much larger the Union got, all these different things. I mean, this is an important time period. And these people, according to Whitman, were the key. And I agree 100%. Now, I'm going to pull this poem up. In your OneNote, I'll have a link to this poem so that you can look at it yourselves. But I'm going to pull it up and read it from my screen, it's a short poem, but it's by, again, a guy named Langston Hughes, who, I think I can share this with you guys on this. Let's do that. Oh, no, no, that's going to take a lot of work. Never mind. I'm being lazy. All right, so Langston Hughes was a guy who wrote in the 20s during the Harlem Renaissance, who's probably the poet of that time period, perhaps the writer of that time period. And he wrote a response to this. It's called I Too. And it's going to talk about, like, we don't see any kind of ethnic connection here. And I see here America Singing by Whitman. But Langston Hughes wants to point out something that he felt like, maybe the African Americans had been omitted in some ways, not from the poem, but from, being the people who also helped build America. And he wants to comment on that. So we're going to look at this and talk about the value of poems that are response poems. I think there's a lot to be said for those. Okay. All right. Langston Hughes, I Too. It says, I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. So really short, right? But man, there's some power in it. Think about this. Let's look at this again at the very beginning. I too sing America. Just pointing out that he also contributed, and his people also contributed to building what America is today. In fact, honestly, in some ways, his people contributed a lot more than people want to admit. All right. He says, I am the dark brother, and they send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes. The idea again that they're it doesn't necessarily mean literally this, but the idea again that their legacy was kind of swept under the rug because it was kind of a black eye on our country, especially by the time he was writing in the 1920s, 1930s. This kind of black eye in our history that maybe we still knew was an element, but kind of were trying to ignore. The point about when company comes out, I'll laugh and eat well and grow strong. This idea again of you may be embarrassed of me now, but these tough times are just helping me get stronger. All right. And then he says, tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes and nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen. Then that's not a threat. This isn't like I'm going to fight you, but he's just saying that eventually people are going to realize how important, the African American people were to building of this country and how important they are to it now in his time period writing it as well as today. He says, and I love this last part, besides they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. Again, it's the idea of, realizing the negative parts of our history and acknowledging it and being embarrassed by it, not making excuses for it, not saying, well, this and this. No, it's just, hey, that was wrong. We shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry, And then, and I realized I wasn't around then, and my family was dirt poor. So, we never owned a single person, barely, we didn't even own our own land. So I don't feel like me personally, but I feel like historically this was wrong, and if you can't agree with that, then I don't know what to tell you. But then he says, I too am America. And that's key, is the point where he says, it's not just the carpenters. It's not just the masons. It's not all just any of these people. It's also, these people that, he feels like, have been marginalized. We live in a time period now where we like to pretend like none of that's still around. And, you're welcome to believe what you want. But, I feel like that poem still has relevance today as we look around. And it doesn't just have to be different ethnicities. It can be, all sorts. It can be different social classes. Obviously the wealthy are important, and the middle class, drive a lot of the world of our country. But the lower class still does a lot of things that a lot of people wouldn't do if it wasn't for them. So we have to be thankful for that. It goes back to Whitman's original point, which was that all of these parts are what makes up America. There's not one part that is in some way, this is the only part that matters and the rest of this is just unnecessary. I mean, it all matters. It's like if you've got a puzzle, and if you've ever done a puzzle and you were missing that one piece at the end, that's miserable. It doesn't matter whether that piece is a corner piece or whether it's one of the ones on the very middle left of it. It doesn't matter. It's still a missing piece, and the picture's not complete without it. And that's kind of the message that Whitman and Langston Hughes are delivering, is that we're all a part of this. And it's sad when any part, whether it's the blue collar worker, whether it's the mother or daughter, or whether it's, another ethnic group that feels marginalized, that all of these parts contribute to making America what it is, what truly makes our country powerful and special and amazing. And, we should remember that. We really should. All right. So a last video of 2020 right here. I will be the next thing we have is a test and then exams, and then you're finished with this. Next year, we're going to be moving into some more modern writing. We're also going to start playing around with some novels and working through them. So we got a lot to look forward to, but I hope you liked ending on this note. I think it's good to end on this, that we realize the importance of everyone. As we enter a time of giving, hopefully, as you enter the Christmas season, that you should, share with those around you, show care and concern for everyone. and just be a kinder person. We live in a world that there's a lack of kindness right now, and I would love to see that change. It's terrifying to watch our country degenerate into hate and polarization, and we really need to get back to what writers like Whitman saw, and that's that we all matter and we all have a part to play, and we should play those parts. All right, guys. Well, have a great evening, and have a great Christmas. You won't get another video of me before then, so Merry Christmas, and I love you guys.